Good evening. My name is Likuyani Eli, and welcome to the Family Edition. For those joining us for the very first time, you can follow this link live on YouTube. That is the ArtinHeart official, because from the month of November, we'll be migrating all our live casts onto YouTube. So this is your last moment or chance to migrate. In the meantime, we are talking about marriages and the fact that marriages, these which are supposed to be blissful, all of a sudden they are tumbling. Nobody understands why. And to make us understand the conversations around this issue, and tonight, the most important part of it, which is communication, I have with me Coach Collins Bolo. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Ellie. I'm fine and well all the way from Mombasa.
Aha, wapwani wamefika. I hope
Yes,
your people from Mombasa are joining us today.
as usual, many of them will be joining us and they'll bother you even as
They'll
they
bother me.
identify themselves. Yeah, from everywhere they are, and even many
Yes,
other more from this part of Kenya.
definitely, definitely. Let's just get this conversation started. Coach Collins, last week we handled a lot of issues in this discussion, and then we were left wondering, why don't we bring in communication? So, why is communication an important aspect in marriage in the first place?
Thank you. As we started last week, I defined marriage as a deliberate step to take a risk to live with a stranger with hope of a good future. Because one has to take a deliberate step to take this risk. For one, to minimize the level of risk and to enjoy long-term relationship. One of the tools which one ought to master in is the mastery of communication. And in communication, there are different aspects which we need to check. It's a very wide topic in itself, but today I want us to check in three aspects. What's the role of communication based on our expectation, the role of communication based on our gender, and the role of communication based on the dynamics of our personality, among many more. And I believe if this skill, it's part of the life skill which we ought to develop and to build. If we don't do it well, we lose it, even the best gift for life, which is right with us. That's where the difference come in. You are muted.
My apologies for that. I was saying
Yeah.
before I got rudely interrupted with my audio settings that you mentioned about one aspect of which we are going to discuss tonight, which happens to be gender. And gender has caught me, and it has caught my attention. But before we jump guns and start saying A, B, C, D, let's just get to invite everybody that is watching tonight and, welcome them to the conversation. Thank you so much, William Senior. Amesema yuko present. Thank you so much, William. Karibu sana. Gilbert Were tells me tuned in. Good evening, Gilbert. We have one Waigo Mulunje anasema, I think marriages is dysfunctional to those people who are rich, who drive Mercedes Benz. But for that, I don't know about you, coach, but I'm left laughing about that statement. I hope we are able to converse around it. David said, Omoni says, Okelo, hi, Reverend, hi to you. That is not me
Thank
by any
you.
chance. I'm telling you, this show has been bringing a lot of reverence on site. That is to you, Coach Collins. We have Pride Kills Marriages. Pride kills marriages. And we have Noreen who says, tuned in. Thank you so much, Noreen. Let's see who else is there. Evelyn Otieno, who says, I'm here, Evelyn. Fida Kenya Councillor Collins. This is a thorny issue in our society nowadays. Coupled with COVID 19, we cry communication, communication. Okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And she is tuned in from Mombasa, Kenya. And James Macau says, hi, hello to you, James. Tayari watu washatufungulia hiyo Pandora box, wameshatuambia mali
Mhm.
tuko, but
Yes.
coach, all on us, let's start this discussion.
Now, in every sector of life, in business, in our workplace, and even in our social joints, where most of the time we meet, it's
Hmm.
very natural that the way a person perceives you and sees you in one way or the other, subconsciously will determine how the person will communicate to you. For example, if someone comes to sell to you something and you see him as a salesperson, you realize that the mode of communication you're going to have with him is of some business related.
Yeah.
If someone is dating, the mode of communication at that particular point is from a dating angle.
Mhm.
If people are in a tug of war, the mode of communication at that particular point is full of tension. Now, we subconsciously always respond back or behave in certain matters when we are communicating depending on the expectation at that particular point and time.
Mhm.
Now, when people get into marriage, many of the people get with a lot of expectations. Some are real, some are not real.
Yeah.
But whether real or not real, it will affect on how we communicate. For example, if you got into marriage with the expectation of being given everything to be done for you, because
Mhm.
probably you're the queen, you are the king, and you realize that all your expectation will always be
Yeah.
making you to respond or to communicate in a manner towards reaching your expectations.
Yeah.
Now, meaning that it becomes extremely important for us to be aware that most of the time when we get into crisis or we enjoy our communication, it has a lot to do on our expectation.
Yeah.
Expectation, like for example, if your expectation is, how am I going to add value to my wife? How am I going to add value to my husband? How will we add value to our children? You realize that in each and every step of your dialogue, your focus is on how you can add value. On the contrary,
Yeah.
if you are the one expecting everything to be done for you, or if you have that mentality, we call it in one of our programs the pet mentality or consumer mentality, you
Mhm.
realize that it will be all about nipe.
Mm.
What have you,
What are you doing for
what have
me?
you brought? What are you doing for me? What have you
Mhm.
brought for me? If any communication is not towards that angle, you just find yourself shutting down, or you develop what we call selective hearing. Selective hearing means you
Mhm.
only want to hear what will suit you and make you happy. Anything beyond that, you shut yourself off.
Ah,
All this
okay.
has a lot to do with expectation. So, if your expectation is to add value to your partner, then you realize that at each and every given time, in each and every activity happening, your goal is, how can I convert this towards adding value to each other? So,
Mhm.
expectations play a very key role on how we communicate.
Okay.
Very, very important. I've
Mhm.
had situations whereby people are in crisis in marriage, like I had one
Mhm.
case whereby this guy told me that his wife has denied him sex for 2 years. And
Oh,
the reason was simple, because the man had not yet gone to pay dowry as expected in her home.
wait. You said they were holding sex, and this is important because this is a family setting. You talking about a couple or a partner withholding that which
Yes,
consummates marriage and says,
yes.
because you didn't visit my family and give dowry, hii kitu haupati.
Our party. And the girl was telling me things are tough. If nothing happens, it's only that I'm a Christian. But if nothing happens from this point, I have to go and help myself outside. Now, just because of expectations,
Mhm.
one expects, unless you take some number of cows to my home, the ones you gave before, they are not enough. You need to add some more. You either take it or you don't get it. So you realize there's
So,
a communication breakdown at this particular point, and there's a crisis within this marriage because of expectation on one aspect of life against the other.
so ideally, the expectation, which could be right or wrong, is not really the issue from the way you are saying, because I'm looking at it from this aspect that if this individual, who is the lady, for example, had communicated the need for them to actually make that dowry come to pass, it would have been a different discussion. Angelikuwa enjoy the milk of I mean, the land of milk and honey. Is that what you're saying, Coach?
Now, she has tried to communicate, but the problem is this: I see you going to work every day. And from the process you are getting from work, you're not responding by getting part of it to our home. Yet the guy was saying, it is true, I'm working, but you have taken a lot of loan to construct our house, to build our house, for the burial of my father, and many other more things. Why don't you just understand right now we're not financially strong enough to take more cows? But on the other side, the wife was being pushed by her sisters. We're not really married well. Unless more cows are brought in, third party is coming in, breaking the whole system.
Yeah.
So when the man is saying our resources are not enough, the wife cannot see that. What she feels like, you are just refusing to do what you ought to do. So there's a communication breakdown because there's a disconnect for them to understand each other within their communication pattern.
Yep.
Whereby now it's simple that the way I value your family, I acknowledge I brought in some cows and I'm intending to bring some more. Is it possible we come up with a work plan so that as I deal with this loan, then we can sort out the issue of the dowry? So nobody's listening to each other. So the man is mad, his right has not been given, and the woman is mad, her people are not happy because of the cows.
Okay.
There's an issue.
People are not happy in any way, and that's why we are asking tonight in our question to the audience: how does poor communication affect a once blissful relationship? In this case, give us a case scenario that you've experienced or you know something about, and try help us digest this subject tonight, because your contribution is equally important. Let's get to the comment section very fast, Coach, before we forget that we are here with other people. We have John John Deto anasema hodi hapa, karibu sana tent ya green ya wageni. We have Geoffrey Simon who says tuned in. Thank you so much, Geoffrey. Alafu kuna mwingine hapa anaitwa Lagat, anasema ladies wamesoma, hao ndio wanaleta shida. Okay, we'll find out if that's in a way, I mean, your social standard or status affect the way you communicate or not. Yes, Dr. Collins anakusikiza sana hapa, anaitwa Hot Gold Official. Okay, sawa, majina ni magumu, lakini thank you so much. We have Alice Mbidi says tuned in. Thank you so much, Alice, for coming through tonight. John Muya goes ahead and says tuned in and following from the prophetic city, Nakuru City. Wewe. Thank you so much, John. Very, very true. Ya kwamba mambo hapa yamekuwa magumu in matters marriages, tumbling and all that. Thank you so much. Nyanduko amesema hello and welcome. Karibu sana Nyanduko 254. She's part of the conversation and the team. We have John who tells me no sex because no one has not paid dowry. It's sure it's a jungle out here. Huku nje ni ni jango. It's a true one. Cecilia anasema watching. Thank you so much. And guys, if you can, that's your wife. Thank you so much,
That's
Mama.
my wife
Coming through. This is support like full. By the way, wengine watu wanatusupport, mko wapi? Mbona msiweke hapo kwa comment mseme Eli niko hapa. Hey, coach, mimi nakwambia watu ni sawa tu. Anasema pamoja. Thank you so much. And we have let me see if I can get a comment. Indeed, some of these customary challenges constitute communications. Okay.
Yeah, awesome. That's one of my mentee and a counselor.
Okay, na nimeambiwa hapa your son is watching too. Hebu shout out sasa. Hebu sasa, this is a family affair completely.
That's nice. Follow production. That's Emmanuel, my son.
Thank you so much. And we have Silo Mikhail who says exactly. These are the things that are happening. And final one here from Nyanduko who says, remember that we will be moving to YouTube in November. Move with us by subscribing to our channel. Exactly. Thank you so much, Nyanduko, for reminding us that very important point, because kuna watu wanashangaa sasa hiyo channel inaitwa nini? It's the same name, The ArtinHeart. Just type in The ArtinHeart official on YouTube na utaipata, and then bam, you are in. And yes, I hope Nyanduko you can share the link in the comment section, ndio wale ambao wanasema hawajui kutafuta na kutype, they can get it. Coach Collins, I want us to take a quick break, and when we come back we want to dig deeper into this conversation as we speak about matters communications. And I want us to talk about gender because that's the
Yeah.
point really pick when you say
That's
it out. Let's talk about gender. Meanwhile, let's take this needed break.
Finally, it's gonna offer nice kupite Ajoymak wallpapers and decor. We have quality wallpapers, wall mirrors, and contact papers to beautify that space of yours. Currently, we have selected wallpapers on offer for 10.50 Kenya shillings per roll. A roll is 10 meters by 0.5 meters, so technically, a normal wall will take 2 to 3 rolls. We deliver and install countrywide. Get in touch with us on 0786923452 and we will help you build a happy place.
She got so offended. But now, I used to tell her my battles. Even when I was going through all that spiritual warfare and stuff, I used to tell mom, mom, there's something that I'm going through and it's very difficult for me. I don't know what to do. Now she knew, and I told her point blank that maybe I started taking alcohol because of all that. All I wanted is just to find sleep.
Thank you so much for joining us again as we continue the conversation tonight on the Family Edition. My name is Likuyani. As always, remember, we are here because of this society that we care about. As we move gears, we want to talk about gender. And earlier on, we had the Joy Mark wallpapers. In case you need a great mural or wallpapers for your interior, do contact the contacts as shown in that ad. And remember, once you do this, it's on offer. Mambo chap chap. Let's bring in Coach Collins Bolo. Mwenye ananiambia hapa lazima tuongee mambo ya gender. And Coach, before you come in, there's someone here in the comment section who has brought in another aspect of this conversation. And they're telling me, this is Joseph Mark Oluoj, says, gender equality is the real pandemic here. I like using the word pandemic because that's how people pronounce it back at home.
Yes.
Our grandmothers and mothers never set their feet in school, but obeyed the institution. They ended up burying one another. Kwa siku hizi, wameona mwanga and marriage has become BS. As a coach, kindly respond to that and then tuendelee na gender issues.
Our grandmothers and grandfathers were taught what we call gender intelligence. And boys, they actually defined themselves as boys as they were becoming men, and girls were taught to understand themselves in the transition towards becoming women. So gender intelligence was very high. Not only that, it was also connected to basic gender responsibility.
Yeah.
And the roles for men and women were very clear in the time of their world. So expectations based on gender were also very clear. The men were out to go and look for food, to go and hunt, while the women were the ones who were protecting from within the children and nurturing them at the same time. No wonder men, even in their sight, they could see very far while hunting and could see very close when they want to get a target, and they're very strong. So those clear definition on gender role and general identity was very clear. Some of these commotions could not be easy. Not only that, the purposes for marriage at that particular time and the definition was so much different from today. Men were adding women as an evidence that they are rich, well, and blessed. Different to our context of today, whereby it is mainly monogamous system of marriage. Not only that, every man had a responsibility on how to care for the 2, 3, 4, 5 wives. I remember at one point of time I went for internship in the land of the Suba people. And where I was taken to this church doing internship, the least person who was not privileged at that particular time was having 7 wives. Had up to 14, some had up to 14 of them.
Okay.
So when this church came in, it helped them, it came in to tell them, don't add, just stop from where you are and manage yourself from where you are and let your children start practicing monogamy at that particular point in time. That's back in 1996.
Mhm.
So realize that the purpose and intention and the roles as far as issues of gender is concerned, and it was pride for someone to stay with his husband and wife till the end. The power to endure challenges was very strong on both men and women in
Yep.
comparison to today. Today you have mental power to endure academics. That's why you can go for masters, you can go for PhD, but life pressure and stress endurance is what is lacking on both men and women, which
Yep.
becomes real big challenge, a big challenge. So, friend, someone is male,
Mhm.
but not necessarily man. It becomes a big challenge.
Let's get back to
What?
this one, coach, before we just go on a rabbit trail, because I can see there's an interesting aspect of gender. They are playing games,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
before we forget, we're trying to look at gender and communication. I've heard a lot of stories of people saying she said no, and for me it was okay that it's a no, but indeed she said no because she didn't see like you were acting as though you want to act. Oh, sweetheart, uh, would you mind getting us milk from the shop? Yeah, yeah, I have something to do. 2 hours later, you've finished what you had to do. Mama is fumed until there. And then,
Mhm,
hey, did you say you wanted the milk? No, 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 it's not a problem. But in fact,
mhm.
that is where the problem is. So, Coach Collins, what is it wrong with this gender that we're supposed to be coexisting with? Why is communication a problem?
Now, the moment we first don't understand dynamics of gender, then the problem can come in.
Hmm.
Just as in the time past, what we are talking about, the days of our grandfather, we call it the cave generation. During that time, the role of a man, the role of a woman, responsibilities, everything was as clear as white and black. Today, we have a lot of dynamics in our society as far as roles are concerned, even among partners. But the bottom line is this: what is the need of the man and what is the need of the woman? That's the beginning of everything before we talk about communication. Today, the basic need of a man in relationship is respect. And the basic need of a woman in relationship is presence. And that needs to be very clear. What women need from men today is presence because most of them work, they earn very well, even better than their husbands. So they can afford the car, which the man could have busted with. They can afford to take themselves out for treat. They can afford to buy for themselves each and everything. So that idea and mentality that I'm a man because I provide does not come in. The issue is, are
Yeah,
you available and present?
yeah.
Meaning that a man can have all the money, you can supply your wife with every accessory in the house. It's only a young girl who is not yet mature who believes that having a car and everything in the house is what makes you to be nice and cool. That's a mindset of girls who are not yet mature. But mature women and ladies,
Yeah.
they all agree that their basic fundamental need is the presence of their man. Let me tell you something interesting. I had been invited by one of the churches to
Hmm.
talk to single moms and also widows,
Yeah.
and most of them gave their ordeal how they were in the past. Their husbands beat them, butchered them, used to mistreat them, and they're talking about their pain while I was doing this therapy on them,
Hmm.
based on a lot of grief which they had and the loss in their marriage. After they talked about each and everything, then I asked them one question. If today in this meeting we could be having single girls who are not married and they're intending to marry
Hmm.
in this forum today, what would you advise them? And this is what shocked me. One of them said, it is better to live with a man who
Yeah.
beats you than to live without a man. And I was like, what do you mean? Then the other started clapping. Then another stood up and said, it is better to live with a drunkard man than to live without a husband or a man. And others were clapping, and I got confused. And I asked them, why are you coming with such conclusions? And they said, today we are more informed about relationships and communication. And you have realized that our men were not mad. Our communications were so poor. What we know today, if we could have known then, we could still be in our marriages. Two, when you live single and you have been left by your husband, you always become a suspect in our society. When you greet a man in the church, he's a husband snatcher. When you talk with them in the street, you become suspicious. So that kind of feeling among them, it's so bad that it's better, at least they say, she's the wife to that drunkard.
Oh
At least you
no.
have an identity.
So
And
stereotyping is making people want to look out for identity,
yes,
whatever the
yes,
cost. Okay.
it's really affecting our society. The bottom line is, if they could have known the need for their men, and their men could have known their need, they could still be living together, and that's very key. That's very key because their men are not mad people who are just fighting them. Some of them are different kind of problem, but there was a trigger factor. That's
Yeah.
what shocked me. So men ought to understand what a woman of today needs is presence, your availability. If you give her everything but you're not available, you'll miss it. On the same note, the woman of today needs to understand what a man needs today is as simple as respect.
Yeah.
Make him a king in the house, let him be cockroach where he works and anywhere else.
Well, these
Now,
kings are behaving like
communications.
cockroaches, coach. These
Now,
kings, you want to elevate them, but they still act like cockroaches. And this lady is trying to make sure that the man understands where they're coming from, but they hakuna kitu anaelewa.
that problem is there because most of them did not grow up knowing that they're being brought up to become kings. So they still think like slaves when they're supposed to take role as kings. Those are problems to do with the nurturing issues, which we'll be addressing on other forums which are there. However, if the nurturing is appropriate for both parties and the man becomes available to make sure that connection is excellent, that one becomes a basis for effective communication as far as gender issues are concerned. Now, let me give, for example, issues of gender, which can bring crisis. How many times do men find themselves quarreling with their wives, sometimes very early in the morning before they go to work because they cannot identify where the pair of socks is in the house? And the wife
Why
is
is my
like,
socks in this house? Who has taken
yes,
my socks?
who has taken my
Why are
socks?
you
It's not
hiding
your
my
socks.
socks?
Yes, if it's not socks, it's a wallet. And people are saying the problem is not even a wallet, it's the phone. It is the phone.
Coach,
Now,
did somebody send you? Because I think I'm in that bracket somewhere
yes,
where my
somewhere around
phone
there.
and wallet just disappears, and I'm all over
And,
asking who has taken my wallet.
and it doesn't make sense to the wife. Every morning you don't see your wallet, every morning you don't see your pair of socks. Now, most of the time, there's a principle which men and women ought to understand. Now, the eye peripheral of a woman is 180 degrees, while for the men is 45 degrees. That's why when your daughter will be sent to go to the same room and your wife will come, will spot the pair of socks, or your phone, or your wallet. Yet your son plus you cannot find it because of the 180-degree peripheral of the site. So the moment the woman gets into the room with 180-degree angle peripheral of sight, she spots each and every particular thing that fast. And men are like, how come I could not be seeing this thing here? And the wife is like, you are crazy, you are too lazy, you are not serious in searching of your socks. But because of lack of understanding the eye peripheral dynamic, it interferes with the communication. Today in my house, if I don't see some things, I usually tell my wife, can you bring your 180-degree angle and help me to find my pair of socks or my wallet? Why? Because both of us understand that probability. Sometimes the same thing can see it. A man can be sent to go to a refrigerator and pick something and he does not see it at all. Why? Because of the 45-degree angle peripheral. Now, meaning that those dynamics, biological dynamics based on the gender, if not acknowledged, people can get to crises which are not supposed to be there. However, your wife, your daughter can spot the thing. Now, because these kind of things are repeating every day, then you realize that it interferes in one way or the other with our communication. Just one aspect, the eye. And it happens so many times. Not only that, with the same dynamic of the eye peripheral, do you know that with women, when it comes even to driving a car, the eye of a man is like a soccer ball, while for the woman it's like a rugby ball. Now, with the soccer ball type of an eye, when a man drives at night, he can zoom very far and see. While sometimes with the wife, it becomes a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Now you find these people are fighting while they're driving back home. Why do you like refusing to drive at night? Without understanding it's a dynamic of eye peripheral. But on the other side, again, on the same thing, which minor things will bring a lot of war in even driving, a husband and wife driving.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to reversing, at the same time, men are more competent while they're reversing their car because of the dynamic of the peripheral. With the rear mirror, they can see it very well and move very fast in comparison to women. But what makes women not understand is this: men can reverse even the biggest vehicle in a small place and park it, but they cannot spot the smallest tiny sweet thing when they're having a moment together.
Oh la la. Man, oh man, you need to visit Coach Collins Bolo because tonight we are discovering a lot of things when these communications get into places they are not supposed to be getting, including reversing a car into a very tiny space. And that car you have in the house, the beautiful baby car, is a problem. Let's take a break. And when we come back, I want us to get to the comment section. Everybody that is contributing to the conversation, thank you so much. You are making this a very, very enlightening moment for all of us. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we're back, let's just have more and more of Coach Collins Bolo.
She got so offended. But now, I used to tell her my battles. Even when I was going through all that spiritual warfare and stuff, I used to tell mom, mom, there's something that I'm going through and it's very difficult for me. I don't know what to do. Now she knew, and I told her point blank that maybe I started taking alcohol because of all that. All I wanted is just to find sleep.
And indeed, that is again, it all comes to you every single Sunday. Tomorrow night, we have those two couples you saw earlier on. They are just coming to tell their story. So tune in, you soak it in because the story there is amazing. Let me not be the spoiler alert. Coach Collins Bolo amekuja hapa na mambo yake ya greatness. Let's just see who is saying what in the comment section before we get into the last, or rather the last second or third quarter of this conversation. Well, I'll start way down up. We have Alice Mbidi who tells me, well, say thank you so much. And we have Lucy Kagendo who says, watching. Thank you so much, Lucy. Umepotelea wapi? Unakujanga technical appearance coach akikuja. Ni sawa. Ni sawa. I've noted you with a lot of concern, Alice. Eunice Muhati says, I love the show. Thank you so much, Eunice. Pia wewe ni mwingine. Coach akikuja uko in the periphery. Sijui coach ni nini. It's all right. We have shows from Tuesday to Sunday. And by the way, Monday probably we are having something coming up. You never know. Stay tuned. We have Kiprorodo says, Family Edition, wise words, very encouraging. Kabisa, kabisa. Boniface goes ahead and say, money is the only thing according to this gender. Hey, I hope Coach will mention one or two things when it comes to that. And we have Godi Segero who tells me that eye peripheral thing. Hey, I've witnessed it with my two eyes, though still from 45 degrees angle. Thank you so much, Doreen.
Yes.
We have Sarah Doreen Kasika says, Sarah Njonjo, unakuwa tagged, umejificha wapi? Zipporah John says a good discussion. Thank you so much, Zipporah. And thank you for everybody that is actually doing the effort to go and watch us live on YouTube, because then that's where we are transferring all our cast starting the month of November. So start getting used to the new home. Tafuta kona yako, uone mali network inashika vizuri, and let's do this. Coach, hapo kwa socks mtajifunza
Mhm.
kuziweka pamoja mkito. Can I just admit one thing, Coach?
Yes.
I'm one of those few people that will
Mhm.
remove my socks, tuck them very well together, and forget where I put them.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's a gender thing, but that's story for another day. And
Yes, I
let's
can
see if
hear you.
any final one that is coming here. We have Jagito says, very true, Coach. Family edition hashtag. Thank you so much. And Joanne Kulab is asking, hi Ellie, the chances wako wapi? Yes, they are coming tomorrow night right here on ArtinHeart, courtesy of Against All. Also, make time and be there. Coach, mimi
Yes.
nataka uniambie, umesema about communication. We've talked communication, this communication, that. Why don't we just say, this is what I need, and say how you need it done? Why is it so difficult for people to actually get to talk out, especially people that walitupiana mistari, went through all the dating aspects, they did the courtship, and they ended up getting your blessings from church with the clergy. And then last week, you know what they started doing? They started having what we said. We talked about unrealistic expectations, right? Then they have those
Yes. Yes.
expectations, and today they are here. They're telling us my marriage is not working because we cannot communicate. How do we help these people to start, having conversations that are meaningful?
As I've been saying before, one of the biggest challenge we have in our relationships today in comparison to the past is the fact that before we get into marriage, we have no program intentionally prepares us for marriage.
Hmm.
So we are expert in our careers because we have been prepared for several years. But the moment we are saying I do in the church, we say I do with the highest level of ignorance about the reality of marriage. And unfortunately, many of us who are graduates in watching soap operas and drama, they get into marriage with the mindset of a soap opera,
Of
this tall
Alejandro,
guy, yeah, the Alejandro kind of thing. And they think marriage
Pedro.
is all about Alejandro. It's all about and I actually tell people, why don't you start acting like Ricobe in the house and all these other people?
Mm.
Because we know it is drama. You see now, we don't behave in the same way in our homes. Now, because of those dynamics, why don't we
Mhm.
just talk straight? Gender still very key.
Mhm.
Let me give an example. If men do not understand that most of the time, especially under crisis, what their wives say and what they mean is a bit different, they'll be in big trouble.
Okay.
Because most of the time when women are under distress, they prefer to communicate, and their mode of the most usual mode of communication is talking much. And there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with it because it's expected a woman within a scope of 24 hours as a mandate to clear up to 9,000 words or more. And now when it comes to personality, it's even much more than that. Now, during the time of crisis, or not crisis, sometimes even in expectation and demand of some issues as a wife,
Mhm.
you have to be an active listener as a man so that when there's some statements which have been made, for example, you have never done anything good to me since I got married. You
Mhm.
have never taken care about me. And you know very well you have done all that you can do. Or I wonder if you always think about me. It seems as if you have forgotten about me. When such kind of statements come on your way, always remember, is what she's saying necessarily what she means? Now, being an active listener as a man, you need to have good questioning skills to ask her, yes, madam. Sometimes maybe we don't need to ask her. Sometimes just let her speak and speak and speak and speak and speak. Because the moment you start interjecting and coming up with your own ideas in response to that matter, then you realize that more crises are coming because you start feeling like even now you're not listening to me, you're not getting my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And on our side as men, the moment you have done a lot and she's not celebrating you, however, she's making comments of such, it really hurts your ego at that particular point. It really
Mm-hmm.
beats you like someone is just shooting on you, boom, 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 as if you
Yeah.
have totally never done anything at all. Now, understanding the principle of what they say sometimes may not be necessarily what they mean, it's very key. For
Yeah.
example, when she says, I don't think you really care about me, probably what she means is, I think I'm missing your company.
Si useme tu nakumiss.
Unapata?
Why make me start using this very difficult angle theta Pythagoras theory to understand you are missing me, coach?
It's because as a man, you want your woman to think as a man and communicate like a man. That's what the catch is. So most of the time, we are expecting women to solve their problem from masculine point of view, and women are expecting men to solve their problem from a feminine point of view. That's why, as a man in communication, when something is bothering you and you're on your silent mode, thinking about it, she's there trying to tell you, please, can you speak? It seems there's something wrong. Why are you not able to play? Please. I shall tell women, the moment your husband is silent, dealing with issues in his mind, leave him alone. He's a man. He doesn't need to talk so much like a woman. Not because women are bad. This is a part of gender dynamics. We must have room to think about our issues, to battle with our issues. Then, when we talk it out, we are talking so that we can come up with a solution to our problem. So, when a man is silent, thinking and pondering about his issue, he is not suffering. That's part of being a man. It's a gender issue. I understand there's some few dynamics of other men who have been told to cry, 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 and mourn, and talk about their issue. Those are the dynamics you're going to talk about depending on probably they've been raised up in an environment of too many girls, one boy, and this communication by default has become more feminine. However, when a man is in crisis and is silent, he's not in problem. When a woman is in crisis and she's silent, there is a time bomb coming on your way. Help her to communicate her issue. Don't let her to be just silent. These are gender dynamics which sometimes happen within a relationship, and it's key and very important to understand these dynamics. However, when she talks as a woman, what does she mean? Now, being an active listener becomes very important so that after listening to her,
Mm-hmm.
probably she'll feel relieved because when women talk more, they get relief out of it. Just as we men, when we are more silent, we get relief before we talk out. These are just dynamics because we are just masculine and others are just feminine at the same time. Now, understanding that it's very key so that you give room for each other. Today, if there's an issue bothering me and I'm silent, my wife won't start bothering and pushing me to talk. She knows that I'm dealing with it as a man. And once I'm through, I'll get back to her. But the way I was thinking about ABCD, what do you think we can do about it? It
Mm-hmm.
makes life better and easier at the same time. When she starts to talk and to parrot, I just become an active listener at the same time. When I get those punches of words at that particular point with a good intention, I just relax. Then after that, we see what else can we do? What does she try to mean? What is she trying to insinuate? And interestingly, after such kind of conversation, the bond of love becomes stronger
Mm.
because we have learned to spare each other and address the issue.
Well, we continue addressing the issues right here in the family edition, and thank you so much for joining us in the conversation as we talk too. Let's see who else is here. Okay, watu wameamua kutusaidia hapa. We have habari zenyu huku. Thank you so much. That is Winnie Mugambi says habari zenyu, habari zetu. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Tuko wazima,
Poa
tashukuru.
sana. Tuko sawa? Tuko sawa coach, uko poa?
Hatuko poa kabisa.
Tumepokea salamu. Asante. Poa sana Winnie Mugambi, umesalimika. We have Jakita who tells me, coach, Why is it difficult for men to speak up their mind in difficult and sensitive
Difficult
topics?
topics.
They always let their
Aha.
wives speak and remain silent. How can we know what they think? Coach, jibu hiyo kabla tuendelee. Tutajuaje?
That's what I'm talking about. You see now, when our women want us to solve problems from a feminine point of view, that's when they get to such kind of crisis. When your man is silent, kindly leave him alone. He's not going to die. He's not going to explode. He's male. That's how he has been designed. Now, the problem of trying to push him to talk is this. Most of the time, when a woman is not aware about these dynamics, you might start asking the husband like 4 questions in one. And the moment you ask your husband 4 questions in one, you make him more confused. Because in the brain of a man, someone was saying, it's like there are so many boxes, and each and every box is like a cabin which opens one at a time. So if you ask him about how was your day today, the box with information about the day occurrences will open up and you get the information. Then it closes. How are the children today? The box with information about the children will open up and you get data about the children. How was your lunch today? One box opens one at a time. That's how men have been designed and their brain works. But if you ask him now, how are you? How is your mom? How did you spend the finances today? Did that so and so text you today? 4 in 1. Definitely from his nonverbal, he'll start behaving as if he's hiding something. And that's where the problem comes in. Why are you not answering the third one? And even sometimes when ask 4 questions, you'll pick one and answer one and leave the others. And it will sound as if he's hiding something. Women ought to discover one thing. The brain of the man responds on one subject matter at a time. Give him space to respond. But for women, it's different now here, Ellie.
Yeah.
Their brain have been so intertuned. If I ask my wife 4 questions, she'll understand it very well. Whatever she decides not to answer, it's because she has decided not to. That's how you can catch a woman.
How to
The
catch
brain
a
is so
woman, you know
intertuned.
it.
That's how
If
you can,
you ask
yes.
her a question and then she goes like, umemshika,
Umeshika, iko
umemshika.
kitu,
Sawa.
iko kitu. Yeah,
Mwanaume tuko sawa.
because their brain is so interconnected and they get each and everything very well, different from us.
Mhm.
But if the wife is not aware about that and the man is not aware about that, you are going to get to unnecessary breakdown in your communication because you're not understanding the gender dynamics, which are very natural in life. Understanding is very key.
Thank you so much, Coach. I believe time is kicking, so we need to try and answer as much questions as possible. We have Kipro Roda who is asking, Coach, what about those people? And I think this is for men, I suppose. Those people who prefer not to talk about what happened. They just brush it off and move on. Like next.
Now, your skill at this point is very key. If the person does not prefer to talk about the issue at that time, just leave it. You can ask questions like, I've realized that you don't prefer to talk much about the journey you had yesterday. Is it possible when you feel comfortable, we can talk more about it?
Mm.
Your questioning skills become extremely paramount, or probably the person doesn't want to talk because he or she is tired.
Mm-hmm.
My wife works as a medic,
Yeah.
and sometime the department she works, when she comes back home, she has lost one patient or another patient. So when I ask her that, how was your day today at workplace? She doesn't feel like talking because she lost a patient.
Mm-hmm.
So I should not start pushing her to start telling me about everything as if she's hiding something.
Mm-hmm.
So sometime one might be tired. Sometime the day might have been so bad. Sometime the events, if they'll be mentioned, it will lead to other unnecessary issues.
Yeah.
So it becomes wise to hold it at that time, then you communicate at the appropriate time. Very
Awesome.
key and very important.
Awesome. I see a comment, rather a concern From Jane Happiness, who says, unfortunately, they use our words to crucify us.
Yes, it happens, especially if you see,
Hmm?
men in a society tend to respond against their women by being violent, slapping them, beating them, and such kind of things, which is not good. And women use verbal words. And you see, verbal words damages more than a slap. And that's what most of the people are not aware. And for
We're just
men,
showing you love.
their
Our love just
esteem,
transferred from our hands to your face. And then you come here
yes,
with words that make me become
words,
doubt
yes,
my masculinity.
just because of boom, your self ego, your self esteem. And wise women have learned the art of preserving and protecting the esteem of their men. It's a very key issue. The more your husband is high esteemed and the image is very accurate, the more you shall work together towards meeting your goal. Remember, in your marriage, the man is the assumed leader. So if you have a leader whose self-esteem and ego has been crushed, you are going nowhere. You're moving around like the children of Israel. A journey of 40 days, you're going to take 40 years.
Mhm.
So preserving and keeping it is key. No wonder the women of the past were taught the art. Let us talk about the gender intelligence on how
Yep.
to keep and preserve the image and the esteem of their men. They could use words like my king,
Oh,
the
yes.
strong one. They know how to use
Oh,
those
yes.
words to articulate it very well. Like some of our community in coastal region, the women have been to actually what women have been taught on how to use words to tame their men.
Uh-uh.
The same art and skill is seen by other commercial sex worker. I had one of my students who was once a commercial sex worker, and she was
Mhm.
telling us in class that what made them to get so many women is because most of the men were telling them when they were coming to brothel that what hurts us most is what our women speak against us each and every day. So a man will come to the brothel, he will pay the woman and will tell the woman, please, I don't need to have sex with you. Just speak to me. And I was
Therapist.
like, so these women start talking to build up their ego, to build up their strength. Then they feel like a bit relieved. But when they go back
Mhm.
home, boom. So the moment you use a word, well, like probably you are useless, you are good to nothing, you're just but a fool, you are as drunk
Mm.
as your father, you'll go nowhere like your grandfather and your father. Those words are not simple. The
Mhm.
impact is bigger than getting a punch on your face. And once it crushes your man, high chances he will use it against you to move away from you. The best thing is the moment you find you're angry and you spoke something negative, calm
Mhm.
down, apologize, and move on. Very important.
Very important to apologize and move on, but sometimes it's also great to accept when you're at fault. We have Maria pia ameokotwa sana na kicheko, amesema hapa leo ni kutamu sana. We have Noreen pia, yeye amebaki hapo hapo, na James Jane Happiness amerudi akakwambia, coach, they will never feel comfortable talking about it, and sometimes you need to create the room for comfort to come through. True verbal words can do a lot of damage in a relationship. Coach, and you have at least 2 minutes before we call
Yes.
it a night. I need you to address one thing, especially when you're communicating our feelings and equally communicating that we have wronged you and we want to show you that we are cool. There are some characters that will refuse to say, my husband, I wronged you. My wife, I wronged you.
Yes.
What
Yes.
do? They decide to wear the birthday suits and come close to you in the middle of the night. Yet, throughout the day, they have been acting like they don't know you. Is this a way of communicating that now we are cool by wearing your birthday suit and moving close and trying to act as if you're trying to say something?
In the past, I used to think men apologizing was the most difficult thing. But I've come to realize as a therapist, women apologizing is the most difficult thing than men. I don't know why. That's a research still going on. That for them to In the initial stage, when they're naive, it's easy for them to apologize. But as they get to know you and they're holding their ground very well, it becomes a very difficult mission. Actually, I'm realizing it's a gender issue. It's a gender issue. It takes the power of God and the power of the cross for them to continue being natural as far as apologizing is concerned. The same thing also is to men because of the ego, which most of the men have. What I'll say is this. More than 95% of people in marriage were never born married. Marriage becomes one of the best schools where we can learn each other, the best school where we can do mistakes, and the best school whereby we can learn to overcome the mistakes which other people did. It's only a fool who says experience is a good teacher. Learning from other people gives you much more wisdom. You don't need to be perfect. You need to acknowledge that I'm a failure who is ready to be perfected in this journey of marriage. Don't look for a perfect wife. Don't look for a perfect man. You just need an imperfect person who is willing to grow and to perfect all that concerns them. And that's where the beauty of marriage comes around. Back to you, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Coach Collins, for coming through. And I will quickly go through your comments. Everybody that is watching tonight, we have Coach mtu amekuambia hapa anaitwa nani? Anaitwa Thalbas amesema hapa some apologies are just useless. Okay, we will find out why you find them useless. Is it because they don't mean a word to you? Coach, I have learned a lot. Wacha sasa nitafute communication. Hapo kwa communication ndio iko chida. Hapo kuna chida. Patel Harenda says, Coach Collins Bolo, thanks for this wonderful topic, and we appreciate you for following through. And goes ahead, Thalmas Dimosh says, you can't apologize with your birthday dress. There's a way you have to do it. You first speak before things happen, you know. And we have Maria Pia Kagendo who says, for me, I think it's good to mention to the wife that he is not in position to discuss the matter as of now, and suggest they talk about it another time. Always do not just, brush it off. Suggest for a most appropriate time that the two of you are level-headed to discuss. Kefao, good lessons here. Thank you so much. I agree, Maria Pia, and of course, Kefao goes ahead and say to Coach and Ariaron. We had Jane Happiness who said true. Leo Wakikuyu wamenitembelea. Asanteni sana for making my life difficult tonight. Coach Collins, where do we find you? And if we want to contact you, kindly go ahead.
If you want to contact me, my phone number is 0721 605 346. In Mombasa, you can find me in a money counseling and training center, Moi Avenue, opposite Toyota Kenya. Every Tuesday and every Thursday, I'm available to offer therapy, one-on-one family therapy, and much more, psychometric assessment, so that people can discover who they are, their potential, their intelligence, and what they're naturally wired for.
Definitely. And you can always find us right here on ArtinHeart. Remember, from the month of November, all our live shows will only be streaming on our YouTube channel. That is the ArtinHeart official on YouTube. All you need is type in the ArtinHeart as it appears on your screen and get to subscribe and turn on the notification button that every time we go live, you get to be notified. And how else to end this night other than wishing you a great one? Remember, tomorrow night, we bring you against all odds with our guests, the Archesses. For now, I want to leave you with Tonya, who tells me, ni kuabudu, originally done. Leo coach, ile viazi na ndizi nimekula. Nimekula ndizi. Umesema nini? Ni kuabudu, originally done by Alice Kimazi. Have a great night. Till next time. My name is Likuyani Eli, and my guest, and of course our resident panelist, is Coach Collins Bolo. Take care.
moyo wangu wa kutamani, ewe Baba, mwili wangu wa kulilia, kama vile ayala atamanivyo maji yakiona kiu. Oh, kuabudu Bwana ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu, ni kuabudu Bwana, ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu, ni kuabudu Bwana, ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu. Haba chini ya mbawa zako, sala ni moja, kwamba kwa macho haya yangu nione utukufu wako. Tenda miujiza Baba, tenda maajabu, kwani fadhili zako ni bora kuliko uhai. Haba chini ya mbawa zako, sana ni moja, kwamba kwa macho haya yangu nione utukufu wako. Tenda miujiza Baba, tenda maajabu, kwani fadhili zako ni bora kuliko uhai. Ni kuabudu Bwana, ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu, ni kuabudu Bwana, ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu, ni kuabudu Bwana, ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu, ni kuabudu Bwana, ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa yangu milele. Yesu ni kuabudu, ndiyo tamaa